He spoke to the children of Israel what he had been commanded. So note, when he goes to speak to Yehovah, he's got a veil on his face, but when he goes to speak to Yehovah, he takes the veil off his face. And the children of Israel would see the face of Moshe, that the skin of Moshe's face shone, and Moshe would put the veil on his face again until he went in to speak with Yehovah. Okay? Makes the point twice here. Until he goes to speak with Yehovah, that's when he takes the veil off his face. In 1 Corinthians 11, 3-15, it says, "And I wish you to know that the head of every man is the Messiah, and the head of every woman is the man, and the head of Messiah is Elohim." Okay, so here we've got it. Head of the man is the Messiah, head of the woman is the man, head of the Messiah is Elohim. Interesting. So now when it uses the word head, we can understand it. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head uncovered, this is talking about his natural head that he's got on his shoulders, brings shame to his head. Okay? Who is the head of man? It's Messiah. So every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, brings shame to Messiah, is what it's saying. The word for covered is actually kata, and it means something that hangs down, basically. It's not talking about a covering that you put on your head. It's talking about something that hangs down. That's what the actual Greek word means, something that hangs down. And every woman praying or prophesying with her head uncovered, without this thing that hangs down, brings shame to her head, for that is one and the same as if her head were shaved. Now what we're going to see as we go on is that Paul is talking about hair. He's talking about a man praying or prophesying with long hair. He's talking about a woman praying or prophesying with short hair. And that's why he says, look, if she's got short hair, she doesn't have this thing that hangs down. It's the same as if she was shaved. Everyone knows that if she had the shaved head, that would be a shame to her husband. For if a woman is not covered, does not have this thing that hangs down, let her also be shorn. Okay, let her be shaved. But if it is a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaved, let her be covered. This is why it's a shame for her to be shorn or shaved. Okay, this is kind of what we instinctually know. For if a man indeed should not cover his head, since he is the likeness and esteem of Elohim, but the woman is the esteem of man. So, man should not have long hair that hangs down from his head. Why? Because he is the likeness and esteem of Elohim. Do you think he sat there on his throne with like big, beautiful, long, flowing locks? I doubt it. For man is not from woman, but woman from man. For man also was not created for the woman, but woman for the man. Because of this, okay, because the woman came from the man. Because of this, the woman ought to be subject to authority by her head because of the angels. That's a bit of a strange statement there, because of the angels. And people will make this into all sorts of weird stuff. I had someone say to me once that witches believe that your hair is a spiritual antenna, and maybe it's something to do with that. It's actually not really known what he meant by because of the angels. It could be something to do with Hebrews 1:13-14 says, "And to which of the angels did he ever say, 'Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet'? Are they not all ministering spirits sent out to attend those who are about to inherit deliverance?" Okay, so it's kind of lost to our modern way of thinking, but to them this was very real, that there would be angels in attendance, that they would be there attending to us, to the believers, to the body of believers. So perhaps that's what he's talking about. Verse 11 says, "Notwithstanding, man is not independent of woman, nor woman independent of man in the master. For as the woman was from the man, even so the man also is through the woman. But all are from Elohim." So in other words, the woman came from the man, but all men come from a woman. "Judge for yourselves, is it proper for a woman to pray to Elohim with her head uncovered, with short hair? Does not nature itself teach you that if a man indeed has long hair, it is a disgrace to him?" So he reveals just in very plain language what he's talking about. Okay, it's a disgrace to him to have long hair. It's a shame for him to pray or prophesy with his head covered. So he reveals exactly what the covering is right here. Interesting statement. Does not nature itself teach you this? Good question. Okay. Once you get men of, say, 40 upwards, what tends to happen to men that doesn't happen to women? They lose their hair. Okay, men will lose their hair, won't they? Women don't lose their hair. Women have got long hair for their entire lives. Men lose their hair. Nature itself teaches us that a woman is to have long hair, but a man, not so. This is translated in other translations as well as, isn't it obvious that if indeed a man has long hair, it is a disgrace to him? But if a woman has long hair, it is an esteem to her, since the long hair has been given to her for a veil. Very interesting. Okay, so this thing which is hanging down is given to the woman as a veil, as like, I don't know, a thing of modesty or whatever, to be under subjection to her head, which is the man. That's why she wears long hair. But notice what it says. It's given to her for a veil. What have we just seen Moses do with his veil when he went to speak to the Lord? He took it off, didn't he? It's a shame for a man to pray or prophesy with something hanging down from his head. Exactly what Moses just did. He just took it off, which is exactly what Paul's talking about. He's saying, don't have that hanging down from your head if you're going to go and pray and prophesy to the Lord. 1 Corinthians 14:37 says something very interesting, because Paul was just talking in 1 Corinthians there, and a few chapters later he says this: if anyone thinks himself to be a prophet or spiritual, let him acknowledge what I write to you, that they are the commandments of the Master. He's saying, look, what I'm writing to you is the Torah. So, how was it Torah that a man shouldn't have long hair and a woman shouldn't have short hair? How is this in the Torah? Deuteronomy 22 verse 5 says, a woman does not wear whatever is made for a man. Man was made in the likeness of Elohim. Nor does a man put on a woman's covering garment. Okay, strange word to translate here, but covering garment is pretty close. For whoever does this is an abomination to Yehovah, your Elohim. So a woman's covering garment is given to her as a veil. A man shall not wear this. A woman does not made for whatever is made for the man. He was made in the image of Elohim. So we've got a Torah commandment here saying, you shall not do these things. This is what Paul is doing when he's saying, look, recognize that these things are actually the commandments of Yehovah that I'm writing to you. I'm not starting a new religion here. If anyone's a prophet or spiritual, let him recognize that this is the Torah. Revelation 9 verse 8 is interesting. Okay, so people might say, oh, well, what is long hair then? What is long hair? Well, as we've just seen from 1 Corinthians 11, a woman is given her hair as a veil, the thing that hangs down as a veil. So we know a woman's hair is counted as long hair. Revelation 9:8 says they had hair like women's hair. What makes the differentiation between men's hair and women's hair? Does he mean, oh, all of the locusts came forth with beautiful smelling shampooed hair? Probably not what he means, is it? He's talking about the length of their hair. It's obvious. People are stiff-necked and stubborn and in rebellion if they want to try and argue about what length of hair is acceptable. They just don't want to accept that they need to submit to God. Numbers 6 verse 5 says, all the days of the vow of his separation, a razor does not come upon his head. So this is the Nazirite vow, yeah? They were to grow their hair. Until the days are completed for which he does separate himself to Yehovah. He is set apart. He shall let the locks of his hair of his head grow long. Okay, so what does it say? It says he is to set himself apart by letting his hair grow long. So, does that mean that everyone could have had long hair? Or does it mean that no one had long hair and the thing that made this person different is that they did have long hair? Pretty obvious. 1 Corinthians 7:19 gives us a good principle in this, because it's not about your hair, and it's not about how long your hair is or how short your hair is, and it's not about whether you wear tzitzit or whether you don't wear tzitzit or any of that stuff. It's not about that. Paul says circumcision is naught and uncircumcision is naught, but the guarding of the commands of Elohim does matter. So it doesn't matter whether you're circumcised or whether you're not. That's not going to put you in right standing with Elohim. If you've done it to guard the commandments of Elohim, though, that is the important thing. If you've just thrown it to the side, if you've just disregarded it and you've not done it, that is the important thing. That's when your uncircumcision becomes an important matter. Not just because you're not circumcised. That would be nonsense, wouldn't it? And he repeats this. It's, again, repeated 3 times throughout the word. Galatians 6:15, for in Messiah Yeshua neither circumcision nor uncircumcision has any strength, but a new creature. Someone reborn according to the word, who has that desire to follow the word. That's what's important. Being circumcised, being not circumcised, who cares? But if you're a new creature, then you will desire to get circumcised because you've been reborn according to the word. For in Messiah Yeshua neither circumcision nor uncircumcision has any strength, but faith working through love. People want to talk about faith, they want to talk about love, but they don't want to do it the Bible's way. They want to say, oh, well, I'm just saved by faith because I believe in God. You're not being very loving, are you? It's nonsense. They don't understand the words that they speak. Circumcision's nothing. Long hair is nothing. Wearing tzitzit is nothing. It's whether you're keeping the commandments of God. Somebody might not wear tzitzit because they don't know that they're to wear tzitzit. That doesn't matter. Elohim's not up there going, oh, that's it. Just you wait until you're stood before me. Judges their heart, and he says, look, the faith working through love, the desire to guard the commandments. They didn't know about wearing tzitzit. Okay, well, that's fair enough, but they did have the desire to guard the commandments. That's what's important. But for people who know that you're to wear tzitzit, that you're to get circumcised, that you're to have short hair, of course it stands against them when they stand before Elohim, because he says, you knew what was important. It wasn't these material things, it was your heart, and it displayed your heart to me.